The art of tattooing has been present throughout history, estimating to be as old as the human race itself. Anthropologists such as Nora Woodkey, who have studied the history of tattooing, place the origins of the art of tattooing at some time in Paleolithic prehistory, before the wide dispersal of man. Tattoos have been a part of the world during every era that modern and pre-modern societies have seen. A prime example of ancient tattooing is the practice of Mentawai tattooing. Along with living traditionally by farming and hunting, the Mentawai people, who live in Indonesia, practice the nearly extinct art of Mentawai tattoos. The practice consists of a person's skin being penetrated by a wooden-handled needle that is beaten with a bat to insert ink, which is a mixture of banana leaves and coconut shell charcoal. The techniques of this art are difficult and have been passed down through tradition since ancient times.
Tattoos continue to be evident in societies around the world, appearing heavily in Western culture, showing that the art of tattooing has flourished in our modern society. The prevalence in athletes, celebrities, and even everyday people shows that there has been an increased acceptance in our modern society. Through the years of tattoos growing in popularity, the skill level has risen dramatically in response to the high demand influenced by our modern culture's acceptance of this art. Scholars began to investigate art in the research field, viewing it as a legitimate literacy. Reading the article Marveling at the Man Called Nova introduced me to the concept of multimodal literacy, which prompted me to think a little deeper about tattoo literacy as a branch off of art literacy. Looking further into this topic resulted in me finding many research papers that touched upon the different types of impacts that tattoo literacy has on this world. These varied impacts of this unique literacy have been discussed in many different ways, varying from emotional attachment to cultural identification and even to incorporating it with education. The main topic I will be concentrated on will be the latter, because I feel that there are more questions and methods that could be used to expand the ideas presented by Seglem and Whitty. Seglem and Whitty conducted a research study which was about implementing a teaching method which involved students developing tattoos. These tattoos weren't just pictures, but drafts of tattoos which had deeper meaning behind them. This activity was meant to integrate literacies and information in order to teach the students how to think symbolically. The research study, conducted by Seglem and Whitty, prompted me to ponder on a few questions about tattoo literacy. I began to wonder if there's any large sponsors of tattoo literacy and the possibilities of making college a sponsor. The purpose of my research was to try and understand if there is a large institutionalized sponsor of tattoo literacy, how people become tattoo literate, and the possible effects of having classes on tattoo literacy incorporated into the school system. For my research, I decided to interview two individuals who are directly connected to the tattoo culture, a tattoo artist and an experienced consumer. I also conducted a focus group with 3 college students who are directly connected to the academic community. I decided to do discussion and interview-based research because I felt that it was the most effective method of getting in the mind of those directly involved. I drove over to the tattoo shop Orlando Tattoo Company and interviewed the owner Johnny and asked him 5 questions. The objective of asking these questions was to gain an understanding of what sponsored his involvement and literacy in tattooing, how it differed from sponsors in his literacy in other arts, and why it was different. My second interview was with an experienced tattoo consumer. I drove over to the house of Derek Tyler and asked him 4 questions. The objective of asking these questions was to gain an understanding of what sponsored his involvement and literacy in the tattoo culture and how he became more educated on the topic. Lastly, I also wanted to know his opinion as an experienced consumer in the tattoo culture
on the possible results of sponsoring tattoo literacy through a large institution such as a university. My third method of primary research was a focus group with 3 college students from UCF who interacted and discussed 4 questions that I asked them. The objective of asking these questions was to gain an understanding of how education influences decisions in college students. I also want to understand the opinion of my fellow peers on the possibility of sponsoring tattoo literacy through a formalized institution such as a university. Conducting the primary research by interviewing Johnny, Derek, and the focus group helped me analyze the viewpoints of those actively involved in the tattoo culture and those directly involved in the academic community.
Johnny, occupation tattoo artist, business owner. Bachelor in Fine Arts UCF, Master's in Fine Arts UCF. Really learn how to draw it in an educated way, college. Definitely. I do everything. Tattoo is just a medium. It's the most lucrative medium, but it doesn't limit what I do. Took an apprenticeship. Learned how to use the tattooing equipment and applied my art knowledge to enhance it. No.
I did my own research on the search for a tattoo class of some sort incorporated into a school system but couldn't find anything. Some of the schools I researched were large, well-known schools in art such as UCF and UC Berkeley.
Derek Tyler, firefighter. Started out just, the same thing that a lot of people say. You watch MTV in the morning, back when they used to play music videos, and you see your rock stars and everybody with their tattoos, and you just kind of follow suit, but with your own things in mind. You let your own influences decide what you're going to get and where you're going to put it and how it's going to shape you. Not so many that I regret of what I got, but where I got. When you're young and you start out, which for me, I got my first tattoo when I was 15. It was real small, and come to find out later on, I wanted things that were bigger, things that took more area up than small little pieces out of a notebook at the tattoo shop. And then the second part would be a design of a cross that I had gotten that when you're tight on money and you decide to go get a tattoo that night and you go do it at someone's house versus going to a shop, you get what you pay for. So quality wasn't there. Myself, I've been through a couple different artists before I found the one that I was going to stick with, which has been a friend of mine for a long time now. So he understands what I'm looking for when I go in there. In the past, basically I'd come with an idea, and I like to use the artist as a guideline because that's exactly what they are. They're the artist. I don't want to walk in there with a picture and say I want exactly this. I want to walk in there and have them take control and decide, hey, this is what I want to do for you. This is the kind of tattoo that I want to make for you. So basically the artist taking control and good quality work that's shown through their portfolios. I think just like it's becoming over the years now, the more recent years where it's becoming more socially acceptable, jobs where, I could meet somebody in the tattoo shop today and know nothing about his career, but come to find out he wears a white jacket and he's a doctor at a local hospital, you know, and you would never see that it's there, but on his off days you might judge him in a certain way. So I think for judgment standard and just overall social acceptance, I think it'd be beneficial to have classes and seminars for people to attend, just to see that not everybody out there is a thug from the streets because they have tattoos.
Like, since coming to college, I've actually learned more. I've become more educated. Some of the decisions I thought I was gonna make before I came to college, you know, I've actually changed my mind on those decisions. So overall, college has, you know, it allowed me to become more knowledgeable about the decisions I make.
Well, what he's saying, just the more knowledge that you have, the better you can make a decision, like flat out. Like the more things you know about something, the more you can assess the question at hand or whatnot and make the right decision.
I think it's made me think more critically. Like, you definitely have to go more in depth in your learning. It's like before we were kind of taught the surface of things, but now we're taught like more in depth and like actual practical material.
I think it's definitely like an art. Like I think it's a more complex kind of art because the canvas alone is different. It's a person. The tools they're using isn't like a brush or a pencil or a stencil. It's like the little gun, and also like trying to satisfy the customer with their talents.
I think it's definitely an art, and it's definitely a more personalized art where you're appealing to someone specifically, and it's one of those things on it's a tattoo on someone's body, so it's something that's very personal. It means something to a great deal to that person that they're getting that specific tattoo. I mean, it doesn't really matter if it's on a canvas or it's a painting, but tattooing is the same degree. You're drawing something or you're writing something that means something to someone.
I think that actually brings up a lot of other questions, because when you talk about art, you're talking about expressing your emotion, and when you're talking about the person that's getting that tattoo, he wants to express his emotion. So I actually take back what I said. It's more than art. It's like something of what you would call perfectionist art, because it's not something you can turn back on. Pen and paper, maybe you can draw. You can like how you create a academic journal, you can republish it. I mean, not republish it, revise it, tweak it. But tattoo, once it's there, it's there. Yes, you can get laser surgery, but I mean, if you've seen somebody go through that, it's not something you'd want. So it's more of a perfectionist art. You can't turn back on it.
I think if you have that, if you're in that mindset, or you're interested in tattoos, or you want to become a tattoo artist, you should have that option of being able to take that class, because it might open your eyes to. You might be someone like me who not quite sure if I want a tattoo or if I want a tattoo. Maybe this class will open my eyes. And we take classes all the time in college that say this is what's supposed to teach us about different careers, or this is supposed to teach us about different literacies. But this will enable those who are interested in tattoos to be able to learn about them, learn the different varieties, learn different schemes, or whatever it may be, but give them that option that maybe they can't really get in college. They've only really been able to get by internships or apprenticeships. They're only able to get through those methods, but now they can actually take a class and learn different literacy forms.
I think it's not just, just getting that tattoo, somebody would take it, but if like somebody's an art major, let's just say, and he wants to, I think when people are studying art, art itself, as I explained, it's like expressing emotion. So they want to find ways in a variety of ways to express their emotion. That can be painting, that can be architecture, and that can be tattoos itself. So they would probably take that class in itself just to learn about another method, another way to express their own emotions.
I think that's it. Like, agreeing with both of them. Like, the more knowledge you have, the more widespread variety that you can, like, choose from like you were saying, you don't have to be interested in just tattooing. It's just painting, architecture, tattooing. It's just once you have that knowledge, you can try to apply it to all different aspects.
After conducting research through interviews, a focus group, and analysis, my research suggests that there is no major institutional sponsorship for tattoo literacy. This is troubling to me because it is a novel art that consists of its own medium, tools, techniques, and even situations, such as the stress of it being permanent and unable to be edited. The uniqueness was pointed out not only by the focus group, but also tattoo artists.
Pencil and paper is more forgiving. You can erase your mistakes, and paper will hold still, and you know what to expect. Whereas living tissue is different from person to person. It's going to react differently to the needle groupings, to the ink, to the way that you tattoo it. It's not forgiving. You make a mistake, it's there.
Tattooing is incredibly difficult. Just because you can create art on canvas or on paper is really irrelevant compared to dealing with skin.
Through my research, I also found it to be evident that intrinsic motivation and pop culture have been the major sponsors of tattoo literacy. In the case of the tattoo artist, he took it upon himself, through his own interest in the arts, to take up an apprenticeship, which also seems to be one of the few sources that educate on tattoo literacy. In the case of the experienced tattoo consumer, Derek, his earlier source of sponsorship that primed him to receive tattoos were sources such as MTV and also his personal reasons. Due to both the artists and the consumers' love for and involvement with the tattoo culture, they were able to expand their education and literacy on the topic. But before they were able to expand their knowledge and literacy of tattoos, they had a more limited knowledge of the topic. Lastly, I found that education and classes have and continue to really shape how college students make life decisions. Putting two and two together, I found that if there are no tattoo literacy classes available to artists or consumers, and education is a large determining factor in decision making, then the decisions being made by consumers to receive tattoos aren't as educated as other decisions that they make throughout their lives. This is a genuine problem because receiving a tattoo is a permanent marking on one's body, and the decision of receiving one should be as clear and educated as possible. A prime example of the disadvantage of a lack of tattoo literacy would be the example given by Derek of how he regretted the method of which he received his first tattoos. From my results, I would suggest to incorporate tattoo literacy classes into the educational institutions, making these influential institutions a new sponsor of this literacy. In doing so, I believe that not only will there be an increase in educated tattoo consumers, but the skill level of the artists could also be more educated as well. In addition to increasing the literacy of both the consumer and future artists, tattoo literacy classes would also help make the art of tattooing more accepted by the general public, as suggested by my interview of Derek. When this proposition was presented, I got a lot of positive feedback, such as furthering the development of students in art, enlightening people on the subject, and even promoting the acceptance of tattoos in our society. But looking at an even broader picture than educating the public on tattooing, I believe my research on tattoo literacy provides a perfect example of what Deborah Brandt touched upon, which is the unique development of literacy. Tattoo art will continue to be an interesting sight to continue to pay attention to, as the sponsorship of this literacy evolves from non-institutionalized grassroots sponsorships toward a more formalized, institutionalized sponsorship, such as TV shows discussing tattoo literacy and apprenticeships teaching techniques and styles. Tattoo art can be a location of the transformation of literacy, which could be the hotspot for future studies to understand how and why literacy sponsorships evolve.
Black and East ties, colors burn into my eyes. Life for you, shades gray. Help me find a way. Lost, never found. Hide your secrets, settle down. I am young and I am naive. Tell me something I will believe. Take me far away from this city so decay. Get away till I was 18. Only saw colors on a TV screen. Skinny jeans and sunglasses. A fashion statement for the masses. What you do makes me sick. Overhyped and generic. Shine like the sun. Spread your warmth to everyone. I asked you where people die. You said we all have design. Slide into the sea. Lands like coming down. said I was into